Why didn't they do almost anything when Obama had a supermajority? Imagine if Trump had a supermajority where he didn't have to worry about the filibuster. They would have changed every law in the country by now, right? But the Democrats were like, there's nothing we could, there's everything you could do. And they didn't do it on purpose, okay? So they're gigantic liars.
Ana Kasparian is going full scorched earth on the woke left now, and that includes the Young Turks' own fan base. She's now even going after them. As in this video, we will see that she lashes out at progressives, which makes up most of the Young Turks fan base and most of the people who watch Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur on a daily basis. Let's get into this clip here where Ana Kasparian absolutely loses her mind over these progressives being a blight to humanity. Let's get into this clip here from the Young Turks.
By the way, Kristen Sinema came out. The only part of that bill I liked at all was the tax on carried interest. And Sinema came out last night and said the one change she has to have is no, hey, no offense, Sinema's gone full hedge fund, full VC, right?
Steve Bannon happens to be one of those rare conservatives that has for years spoken out against the carried interest loophole, which is a major gift to the wealthy, a major tax break for the wealthy. But in recent days, more members of the Republican Party have actually started to line up behind Bannon on this issue. Now, why? Well, the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, has repeatedly stated that President Donald Trump wants the carried interest loophole to be scrapped as part of a sweeping tax bill. And before I give you the details, Cenk, how much do you believe this?
Well, there's really good reason not to believe it, and we'll share that with you as well. But as usual, there's plenty of blame to go around for both parties in this. That's why it's been around for decades.
Definitely. So look, in case you're not familiar with what the loophole does, I don't blame you. I too am not wealthy and I too do not benefit from the carried interest loophole. But basically it allows hedge funds and private equity firms to classify a part of their income as capital gains, which are unfairly taxed at a much lower rate than general income, right? So carried interest refers to the income that investment managers collect from their funds, which is typically 20% of profits. Under current tax law, that income is taxed as a capital gain, which has a top tax rate of 20% for long-term gains versus the highest rate of 37% for regular income, such as the money that workers receive in their paychecks. So shockingly, several Republican lawmakers told The Hill that they support Donald Trump's plan to scrap that tax break. Here's Representative Dan Muser, who said,
if you enjoy content like this, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
As that Trump thinks it's a little unfair that one sector of industry gains a lot by using carried interest as part of their income and paying lower capital gains. President Trump doesn't want to see anything perceived as unfair. That's kind of a funny line, but nonetheless, certainly for the wealthy, he wants to make sure that all of America gets the benefit of his tax bill, and I agree with him. And he's not the only Republican. Let's go to Republican Congressman Rick Allen, who says, we get accused of just looking after the wealthy. Well, that's for good reason, but let me continue with his statement. And this would include the wealthy. With the momentum in the country, I don't think folks will mind paying a little more to make sure we get this done. Senator John Kennedy, though, is a little bit on the fence, a little iffy on this whole notion. He says, I haven't made a decision about carried interest. I know the way it works. Frankly, there are good arguments on both sides. If we end up needing the money, could I vote to get rid of carried interest? Yeah, I could. But before we get too excited, I do want to remind you all that in the first debate in regard to Donald Trump's 2017 tax bill, there was a lot of talk about doing away with corporate tax loopholes and other various deductions that the rich get to take advantage of. These types of deductions and loopholes effectively allow for incredibly successful and profitable corporations to get away with paying zero in federal taxes. And so when all was said and done, they did not get rid of those deductions. They didn't get rid of the carried interest loophole. All of that remained in effect. the only thing that we got out of that tax bill were tax cuts. The majority of those tax cuts did benefit corporations and the wealthy. Yes, there were some working class people who benefited from those tax breaks as well, but certainly not to the same extent. Cenk.
Yeah. So I want to explain to you guys.
While I love the fact that Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur are now going after progressives and the left wing and establishment people. And the Republicans are also going after those people. So it forces Ana Kasparian to really go criticize those sorts of people and then also agree with people like Donald Trump. You could tell it hurts her to do, whenever Donald Trump says, I don't want any of my bills to be unfair or whatever he ended up saying. And she was like, that's a pretty funny line, because people like Ana Kasparian have been going after Donald Trump for the longest time for evading taxes or not paying as much taxes as they deem he should be paying, when in reality, if he was breaking any sort of laws, he would be in jail. They tried their very best to throw him in jail. So if there was anything that they could, get him on in regards to that, they would get him on it. Trust me. So I don't think he's doing anything. I don't think he's doing anything illegal. He just has a better understanding, or his accountant has a better understanding of the tax law than you do. So, but regardless, people like Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur have been going after people like Donald Trump for the longest time. Now, I mean, they're kind of forced to, because they've been going in the direction of common sense in the last year and a half or so. They're forced to just go after Democrats and go after left wingers and go after the people that their own audience supports. They're forced to do that, and it's glorious to watch. With that being said, though, I know this is going to piss off a ton of people, but it is what it is. I don't understand the obsession with making sure that rich people pay a lot of taxes. Like, why do you care so much if rich people pay a lot of taxes? I don't understand it. As someone who I make a decent amount of money, right? Like, I hate saying things like that. It sounds so cringy, but just to give you some context, like, I make a decent amount of money from my online businesses, and dude, we get absolutely destroyed in taxes if we don't take the proper precautions and do what we're supposed to do. 37%. Like, if you think about that, paying 37% in self-employment tax, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of damn money. And I don't, like, for me, when I see things like, oh, rich people are getting tax cuts or rich people are getting tax breaks, it doesn't make me think, oh man, screw those rich people. I'll never be rich. I'm not one of you. It just makes me think, man, I should probably go get rich. Like, why don't I just go make some money? That's how I think about things. So it doesn't make any sense to me why these people like Ana Kasparian and so many people on the right and the left wing are always like, they just view themselves as a different breed of human that can't possibly make as much money as these rich people make. You can definitely make that much money. You just got to put the work in. And let's be real, like, Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, they're not doing too bad for themselves. Ana Kasparian has ownership in the Young Turks, and Cenk Uygur is, the founder of the Young Turks. They're doing pretty well. So I think it's, they're trying to play that part. They're trying to play that role where they're trying to be relatable to their audience and say, yeah, we're both after the big man together. But it's like, let's be real. Y'all are doing pretty damn well, So this will probably benefit them as well.
That's why this is so unfair. So your income, whether you're a doctor, accountant, etc., gets taxed at 37%, as Anna explained. The hedge fund guys and the private equity guys, by the way, the richest people in the world, that are doing the investments for other incredibly wealthy people, they're not investing their money. If they're investing their money, they get capital gains. I don't even think capital gains tax being at 20% is fair, but that's where it is. But in this case, they're investing other people's money and they're getting income for it, salary for it. There's no reason why that shouldn't be 37%. And they're like, no, just because they're bankers, it gets to be 20%. It's just cheating. It's totally, utterly cheating. And both sides know it. And both sides love it. So that's why, the Democrats are really against the carried interest loophole. Oh, golly gee, Kristen Sinema voted against it. And Schumer, in his quote at the time about it, said, well, there was nothing we could do. Of course, they always say there's nothing they can do, right? And if, by the way, if it wasn't Sinema, it would have been Manchin. If it wasn't Manchin, it would have been Coons. Why do you think it's been around for decade after decade, no matter if it was a Democratic president or a Republican president? If you think the Democrats really wanted to get rid of it, why didn't they get rid of it when Obama had his supermajority? Why didn't they do almost anything when Obama had a supermajority? Imagine if Trump had a supermajority where he didn't have to worry about the filibuster. They would have changed every law in the country by now, right? But the Democrats were like, there's nothing we could, there's everything you could do. And they didn't do it on purpose, okay? So they're gigantic liars. Now, how about Republicans? since everybody in the country has binary brain, that must mean the Republicans are angels, right? No, the Republicans are even worse on this. Why does Sinema's vote matter? Because every Republican voted no. Every Republican was like, well, of course, private equity and hedge fund managers cheating, and then you guys have to pay higher taxes to make up for it, the average American. Obviously, you're not my donor. Those guys are my donors. So every Republican senator is a total and utter crook on this issue. That's why you see them going, I mean, if Trump makes us, I guess I'll have to consider it, but I really don't want to. Those guys are so good with bribes, right? And Trump, last time, I'm gonna get rid of all the loopholes. I'm gonna get rid of carried interest loophole, just like he's doing now. And when they came time to cut the taxes, they're like, chop it. 35% for a corporate tax rate, bring it all the way down to 21. The Democrats secretly agree with us. It'll be easy to pass. Well, how about all those loopholes you said you were gonna take away? That's for suckers. We just say that for marketing, right? Look, if they pass Trump's new tax cut proposal, it would cost us at least $4 trillion, and unbiased groups have already done the math on it. In that new one, middle income Americans and poor Americans would see their taxes actively go up.
It just like, dude, I'm just not with the crybaby stuff. Like, I'm sorry. I know that a lot of you guys are probably like in agreement with Cenk Uygur here, and you probably like what he's saying and everything, which is crazy to say, but it's probably the truth. You probably do agree with him somewhat. Personally, I'm just like, stop crying, dude. Just make more money. Like genuinely, I know that pisses so many people off, but that's just how I think of it, man. I'm just not really with the crybaby stuff. I do love the fact that they're having to, as Cenk Uygur, Ana Kasparian just said, they're having to go after the progressives and the left wing, and they realize how evil those people are, how evil the establishment is. The left wing is really what makes up the establishment now. Now that Trump is in office and Doge is a thing, and they're going after auditing the establishment, things like that. The left wing is the establishment now, and obviously there are some Republicans who are part of the establishment too, but for the majority of the establishment, it's made up by Democrats. It's made up by left wingers. So if you have any sort of common sense, if you have any morals or any principles at all, you're going to have to go after the left wing, the Democrats, the Young Turks fan base. That's what Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur are being forced to do here. Let in the comments, what do you guys think about this whole tax situation? Personally, I wish Donald Trump would just do away with all federal income tax. And if he did that, I would forever be loyal to Donald Trump. I would go to civil war. I would actually go fight in a war for the guy to stay in office, because I'm tired of being taxed. I'm tired of money being stolen out of my pocket and being sent over into the Middle East or to Ukraine or all this other BS. If you're gonna steal money from me, at least use it in ways that are gonna benefit me. But no, they steal money from me and then they send it over to people that I don't care about. I don't care about Ukraine or the Middle East. I don't care about this stuff. Let me keep the money. If you're gonna go waste it anyway, just let me keep it. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys think about Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur being forced to go after their own fan base.